Okay. Hi, everyone. Logging in. It's just after lunchtime in Vancouver, I'm assuming. In Toronto, where I'm at, it's 4:30, but time is a mere suggestion at this point. What is it really? My name is Karan Liu. I'm a food reporter with the Toronto Star, and today I'm here to moderate this cooking session with Vancouver-based chef, restaurateur, entrepreneur, and two-time Top Chef Canada finalist, Trevor Bird. So yay! Pause for a round of applause. How are you doing, Trevor?
Yeah, I'm doing really well, man.
Yeah. Now, before we begin our obligatory quarantine banter, I just want to congratulate you on the addition to your family. We're talking like, this is just hot off the press, right? The baby just came a few days ago.
Sunday afternoon, man. 3 days old. 3 days old.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm amazing. I'm running on adrenaline and a little bit of caffeine. So yeah, feeling really good. Really good right now.
Yeah. You said that this is the first time you've had coffee in years.
Town, and they made me a Greek coffee this morning, and I got 3 hours of sleep last night. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give this a go and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, years from now, I think you and your wife are going to have some interesting tales to tell your kids about being born amidst the pandemic.
Totally. What a time. What a time.
Yeah. So, I mean, how have these last months been like for you, especially someone working in the restaurant industry?
Yeah, really challenging. It hasn't been super easy. Consistent unsureness. And, I think that humans crave consistency and humans crave routine to feel safe, to feel normal, to feel a part of something. And in the past couple of months, it's been, a wild ride of uncertainty, not knowing what's going on, when things are happening. So yeah, it's challenging. It's been extremely challenging.
Yeah. I mean, what's the mood within the restaurant community? Like, have you been talking to other restaurant owners and chefs and front of house staff? What's
Absolutely. I mean,
like where you are?
Yeah, I think it's super important to check in on community right now and check in on people and see how they're doing. And right now there's definitely a lot of fear because, like, especially in this second round, because can you give me 1 second, please? Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna there's some sorry about that. So
good.
So yeah, like with the second wave coming on, the government funding is not as strong as it was when it first came out, but yet we're getting into worse numbers and more lockdown and there's less subsidies. So, like my restaurant has lost, 50% revenue since 2 or 3 weeks ago now. Mm-hmm. And we're down about 73% in revenue. So, yeah. Getting even more down. I mean, it's becoming extremely challenging to run a full service restaurant. And unfortunately, we are not set up for takeout delivery. We're a bit behind on the 8 ball there. So we're not really set up. Like, people don't know us as like a takeout and delivery restaurant. So it's like you need to start a whole new business in that, and that's starting a new business is an absolute, excuse the language, shit ton of work. And it's like, you're not going to have the staff to do it. And like, you're trying to like do something that you're doing in a sense of survival. You're doing it out of fear. You're doing it out of a sense of lack, not a sense of abundance, and not out of creativity of something that you truly believe in and want to create. But you start to change all your perceptions because you have to, and you have no choice. So it can be potentially a very traumatic experience for a lot of people because they're brought up against themselves. It's like, hey, I don't really want to be doing this, but I have to because it's the only way my business is going to survive through this. And that is terrifying. So, this second wave is, especially in Vancouver, like the mood is like, we're waiting on an announcement today, this afternoon, in about an hour and a half here. we're potentially going into the lockdown, like as Ontario is right now, right? And we don't know. And like right now, like I don't know if I'm going to open this weekend right now. Like I will know in an hour and a half, because they're gonna be like, hey, this is what's happening. I'll be like, well, what's the point of even opening this weekend? Because we're gonna do 10 people on a Saturday night. Like it's state, like it's not, you're not paying any bills with that. So you're actually losing money on that to keep your business open. So a lot of uncertainty. You know, I mean, we'll talk about this in a bit. I'm very fortunate and very grateful for our pivot that we have made, and it's going to keep us alive through this whole thing. So I'm you know, so grateful for that. But we got to that point through, I'm going to say, a lot of like panicking and fear and just like making moves and adjusting as quickly as we possibly can. So yeah, that's kind of how it's been.
Right. I mean, we're at 8 months, approaching 9. How many different revenue, like sort of revenues or like projects that you try to, I guess that you attempted over the last months? You know, what worked, what didn't work? Have you thought of anything new for the winter?
Well, I'll tell you what didn't work. The full service restaurant that we were doing before, that does not work. So that's just like punt it into the garbage. It's like not even worth going there. So, you know, we started off with like, we raised a bunch of money for feeding frontline workers, healthcare workers, which was great for 2 or 3 months. Like it really kept us going for those 2 or 3 months with the subsidies. Super beneficial. We tried to get like a takeout thing going, didn't really take. Take home meals didn't really take. I mean, yeah, we sold a couple $100 a day, but I mean, it's not enough. Like, you know, we went from doing like $4,000 a day to under $1,000 a day. You know, and like you can't run a business on that, especially a restaurant, because overhead is so high. So, you know, there's, like I said, there's been those 2 things, and then we started doing virtual cooking classes. Now, this is our mecca, where we started doing these virtual cooking classes. And they are like snowballing into this whole system that's out of control. Like we are fully booked until January. We are helping fundraisers and charities raise tens of thousands of dollars for their initiatives that weren't able to follow through this year. So I'm very excited about that. It feels right. It feels aligned. It feels like I'm really enjoying the process. And it's not draining me. So I'm thankful for that. But I know that that's not the same thing for everybody, right? Because it's like when you have a chef that's invested in creating his own environment and special food, and then it's like now you have to do pasta takeout, like that can destroy one's passion pretty quickly. But you know, I am personally very passionate about business and finances and working numbers and all that kind of stuff. So this to me is like really lights me up. And you know, I think that being said, in restaurants, you know, we are built, and chefs and GMs and restaurant staff are built for dealing with chaos. Like this is not much different than a Saturday night service. I mean, your dishwasher doesn't show up, your front of the house manager is sick, some cook cuts himself online, has to go home, you're 3 people down, the restaurant's full, somebody just overcooked a whole table worth of food, and you figure it out. So, I mean, I think that, you know, that all being said, we are very well equipped for where we're at right now. And yeah, it's going to be a fight, but it's also just kind of like, well, here's a shitty Saturday night service for you. Let's do it.
Now, my last question before you turn on the stoves is that you mentioned before that the restaurant industry is notorious for, you know, low margins. It's a very stressful environment. You know, leading into the pandemic, a lot of chefs have told me that it's a very unsustainable industry. And then now during the pandemic, we're seeing all this creativity come up. Do you think that when the pandemic is over, do you think the restaurant industry will kind of go back to what it was like before? Or will some of the things that were adapted during these last few months are going to stick? Like, do you see any changes with?
Yeah, I just want to preface, you know, this is my very personal experience, my own opinion. So, you know, there's hundreds of other opinions out there. So don't buy into my what I'm going to say as the truth, but this is what I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that our industry is in a very, very challenging situation. I personally don't think a lot of restaurants are going to come back from this or want to come back from this. It's going to take years to get back to where we were. You know, like if we were like a $2 million restaurant, it's going to take us, 5 or 6 years to get back up to that point. And I'm talking about full service sit down restaurant. But if you're looking at like we are going to have to be forced and strong-held into making these changes, into shifting our dining dynamic, where it's not going to be about full-service sit-down restaurants. It's going to be about the counter-service QSR, quick service restaurant, for those of you who don't know what that means. But it's basically like tables, counter service. So, like I'm standing here with a cash register, you come in, you order food. There's no real servers. There's a couple of people online and they like have pre-prepared salads and proteins for you, where you're like, I'll have the salad with chicken and this sauce, and you kind of build it for them. So QSRs, I think, are going to be extremely, extremely popular coming back in, because that's the only way to make, at the end of the day, they make more of a business sense. Mm-hmm. They're a bit better of a business model, where, they're a bit more sustainable. And like the tightness that's going on right now with like small restaurants like mine, like we operate on like 4 to 6% margins, if not less. And that's like terrifying, because with this drop in business, like we're down to like 1%, or if not, we're just breaking even by paying ourselves a super shitty salary. So it's like, what's the point of even doing that? So I think that, it's going to take years before full dine-in service restaurants are back up to speed. And like that goes to the public being comfortable with coming out to a restaurant in a group around a whole bunch of other people. Because the pandemic's going to do some really hard, challenging mentality with a lot of people. So, what I gotta say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has, the crystal ball to look into it, just see what's going to come out of this in 2021. I would probably say spring 2021. I don't think winters, anything's going to be changing. So on that really optimistic and happy note, you're going to start a cooking demo, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, like you said, everybody's getting super creative here. We are flourishing, so I'm not, not trying to poo-poo on it. Maybe the full service restaurant thing is a bit of a challenge right now. So, like it's all good. But beyond that, yes, I'm here to teach you some fun pandemic cookery, or quarantine cookery, because I don't know where all your viewers are from, but we're going to probably be in quarantine here. So I'm going to teach you guys just a really simple cooking techniques that you can take home and make for yourself, and do your own thing. So if you're ready, I'm ready, and we can get this thing going.
Okay. So what are you making?
So this is one of our dishes that we're cooking in our virtual cooking class, and it's one of a very popular dish in our restaurant. And it's charred beets, so like burnt beets, slow cooked salmon, and pumpkin seed hummus. Mm-hmm. I think pumpkin seed hummus is kind of a fun way for people to figure it out, to figure out how to make hummus without using chickpeas, because everybody always uses chickpeas. So using like pumpkin seeds instead of chickpeas, or sunflower seeds, or peas, or edamame beans, like it doesn't matter. So we're going to make a really simple pumpkin seed hummus, but you can switch the pumpkin seeds out with anything else that you would like. And as well, I'm going to teach you some really interesting techniques on how to cook whole vegetables. And the most exciting thing, I'm going to teach you how to never overcook fish again, which is like I mean, everybody always tries to cook fish, and they're always messing it up and making it a bit more challenging than it needs to be.
Okay. I'm not going to tie you up, because I know that you got to focus on cooking. So let's start.
Okay, cool. I just have one question for the tech visual audio Baldwin. I have some people that want to come into this class to kind of check it out. Is that possible, or are we purposely having the waiting room closed? Okay, no problem. I just didn't know I didn't know what the purpose was here. So if you want to keep it closed, that's totally cool too. But if you could let them in, that would be beneficial as well. So okay, so for this cooking class, this cooking round, we're going to make some charred beets, slow cooked fish, and basically the whole idea behind the slow cooked fish is you're never going to overcook fish again. So whenever we send out these packages, we kind of do a little bit of mise en place for you. And mise en place means to put in place. So we kind of portion everything out for you. And all you kind of have to do is mix it together so you feel super accomplished without putting in a whole bunch of work or making too many dishes. We always run competitions with the messiest kitchen wins. So it's kind of like the Call's dirtiest chef wins a gift certificate to Fable. So I'm definitely down to, if anybody's sharing some terrible pictures of their kitchens, we can get you a gift certificate whenever we're allowed to travel again, and you guys can come out to Vancouver. But beyond that, we can get into this pretty quick. So the first thing we'll talk about here is cooking charred beets, because this is the first thing you're gonna need to do. Now, I have my beets already cooked, but if you do not, this is a really easy way to do it. So this is our charred beets right here. And what that means is like we literally burn the hell out of the beets. So you set your oven to 500 degrees, as hot as it can go, 10 out of 10. And then you put your beets in, uncovered, no cover on it, nothing. And you just put them in there for an hour to an hour and a half. Now that might sound crazy, but you just burn them on purpose until they are black.
Right.
And
well, I think home cooks, when you say charred or burn, they're always terrified, right? Because people who are just learning to cook or who aren't familiar with cooking, the last thing that they want to do is burn or char something, because that's commonly seen as a sign of failure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good one, Karan. I think that the way that there's burnt, there's like burnt and gross, and there's charred. So keep that in mind. So with these beets, like try to get like a decent, like softball sized beet. And you want to just burn the outside of it. It cooks off all the moisture to the beet. So all the water's like getting pumped out of it, steaming out of it, and all the sugars and the flavor is concentrating on the beet. As well, because you're charring the outside of it, it takes on this really nice smoky flavor. And you have like a really sweet, salty, smoky beet. So when you're cooking the beet, if you are curious, if you look at that beet and you're like, I don't know if it's done, it's not done. You want to look at that thing and be like, that beet is totally effed and black. When you're at that point and you're like, that doesn't look right, that's when it's done. So, okay. So it should look like a black, like crunchy beet. Now take it out of the oven, let it cool down for maybe 2 hours or 3 hours, and then you just chip the outside off. So wear some gloves because you don't want to look like a serial murderer. And then just like crunch the beet, the outsides fall off, and then just give it a good rinse under water just to rinse off any more of that burnt stuff. And then you have like a gnarly looking red beet. And then we just break them with our hands into bite-sized pieces. They're super delicious. Now with this technique, works really, really well with parsnips, carrots, onions, celeriac. You could do it with any vegetable. So I encourage you to go out there and burn a vegetable. Make sure the vegetable has a peel on it. Like it won't work well with like cauliflower. Whole roasting a head of cauliflower, same concept, but it's not going to work as well with that. When you're doing the beets or onions or parsnips or carrots, you torch them and then you peel off the outside, and then the inside is like a super sweet, delicious vegetable because you basically get rid of all the water and and concentrate all the sugars. Right. So, I have mine already done, but if you don't, I didn't want this course to be like 3 hours long. So we're just you can press pause for the next 2 hours while you burn your beets, and then we can go back into it if you need to.
Yeah. Do you put the beets on like a rack or like on a tray? Do you wrap it in
right.
oil? Okay. Do you have to put any oil on it or?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Literally, you're taking a raw vegetable, no salt, no oil, nothing, and it's in the oven as hot as your oven can go for an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay. You don't even cut it up. You just put the whole thing in there.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to create like a seal, right? And if you cut it, then there's like a place for the vegetable to dry out, because you're gonna have like quite a bit of waste because maybe 20% of the beet is gonna be peeled off when it's burnt. So just keep that in mind. And whole vegetable. So that part's already done, and this is already cut into bite-sized pieces. So charred beets, get on it. If you're not, set your oven to 550, get it going. And that can be done ahead of time. The next thing we can talk about is our pumpkin seed hummus. So for the pumpkin seed hummus, I just have to pull up my recipe here on my computer so that we can talk about it. But a great base for hummus. Now, I gave you all guys a recipe card, which you have. Like I said, this can be replaced with anything besides pumpkin seeds. You could put edamame beans, peas, green beans, chickpeas. I mean, the sky's the limit. Sunflower seeds. Help me out here, Karan. What else could we put in there for hummus?
I actually just made hummus yesterday, but I went with chickpeas, so I haven't been really taking much of a creative route to it. I imagine, would cauliflower work? I just feel like in the last...
Yes, Karan, cauliflower hummus. That would totally work. Beet hummus.
Yeah. Anything that could be like, I guess, pureed into like a very thick, like hummusy texture would work, right?
Absolutely. And the thing that makes hummus delicious is lemon juice, tahini, and olive oil. Right. So as long as you have those three things, like you can make any kind of hummus. The only thing I would say is with the recipe that I gave you, add the water in as needed. Because this water is perfect for the amount of pumpkin seeds. But if you're making a cauliflower hummus, it's probably going to be too much water because there's a lot of moisture in cauliflower already. So if you add in all of that water, it's probably going to be pretty loose hummus. So yeah, you could also make like a nut hummus. You could put cashews in there instead of pumpkin seeds. You could put peanuts. You could put almonds. Like the sky's the limit. You could get crazy. Lentils. You can make a lentil hummus.
Have you tried chocolate hummus?
Carl, that sounds disgusting.
I haven't tried it. I think it's like a Trader Joe's thing from our friends in the South. I haven't tried it, but I know that it's a thing there. So if anyone that's tuning in has tried the chocolate hummus, please let me know if it's a yay or a nay. Yeah.
I would definitely like to see that. I mean, the thing that I was eating the other day, which I couldn't get enough of, was miso and chocolate.
I can see that working.
Right? Like kind of sour, extremely salty against like the sweetness and the bitterness of the chocolate. It kind of rounds out to be a very delicious bite.
I can see that working because I've seen recipes for like miso chocolate chip cookies, and I've heard that it's really good.
Yeah. So I was just like making a vegan chocolate brownie for a cooking class, and it had some miso in it. I don't know what I was doing, but I got the two of them in my mouth at some point by accident. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like we need to do something with this. So yeah, I definitely encourage you to definitely play with that. So that being said, chocolate hummus, sure. I know, actually, you know what? That being said, I do know they make like this chocolate fudge using chickpeas and cocoa powder.
Okay.
So, and I've tried it, and it's like a vegan fudge, I think is what they were going for.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've added tahini to chocolate chip cookies, and it's actually quite good. So
yeah. Well, it's almost like peanut butter, right?
Yes. Yeah. So,
yeah, so awesome.
You have to soak the pumpkin seeds to like get them like blendable. Like, what do you do?
So with these guys, these are just roasted. This is 87 grams of roasted pumpkin seeds. And I'll just go over the rest of the ingredients with you here. So, 87 grams of pumpkin seeds, 2 cloves of tahini, 50 mils of confit garlic. Now, confit garlic, I don't expect everybody to have. That's like a restaurant thing where you make like 5 liters of it and then you can add it to everything to make it taste better. So that being said, if you peel like 20 heads of garlic, cook it really gently in some olive oil, and then just keep that jar, like after it's cooked, put it in your fridge in the oil and just leave it as like almost like a jar of pickles if you think about it, and just like add it to like egg salad sandwiches and mayonnaise and whatever. You're always going to make your food a little bit better. So if you don't feel like doing that though, not a necessity, kind of a cool thing to have in your fridge at all times. So
it could be a wintertime cooking project for some of the people tuning in.
Absolutely. And the other thing with this, Karan, is that like you can make all of this food in advance, except for the fish. But you can make don't limit yourself 3 liters of it. It's delicious. Like you will go through the whole thing. So always make more than you need, because like it's good for salads the next day or lunch the next day or dinner with bread, and you can always snack on it. So these are just guidelines here, so you don't need to follow them to a T. If you want to make more, make more. There's no real rules here. So olive oil, easily attainable, salt, lemon juice, water, and mint and basil just to finish it off, like as a garnish. And it's very, very straightforward. So the only thing that I'd really encourage is a high-powered blender. So here we have a Vitamix. And if you don't have a Vitamix, you should probably get one. And that's not a sponsorship thing. That's just like a cooking with nice blenders for my whole career. So Vitamixes are awesome. They're like 3 horsepower of blending action. If you get the 3 horsepower model, of course. But they are fantastic. So super easy.
Yeah. Just keep an eye out for some Black Friday sales. It might be out there. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? And all we're going to do is put in our pumpkin seeds. And then I already weighed everything out here. I'm going to make a double batch of pumpkin seed hummus because I'm going to take some home to my wife that is working so hard with a baby right now. And then I already weighed everything out in here. And you can do the same. You don't need to do it you don't need to like add everything in one at a time. Like you could have a whole bowl and just put everything in the bowl. Like we're just putting all kids into the pool here, and we're just going to turn it on super high speed. So whenever you're making a hummus or a puree, always keep in mind you want to turn it on as high speed as possible for at least like 2 to 3 minutes. Now I'm not going to keep this one on for 2 to 3 minutes because you don't want to hear my blender going for 2 to 3 minutes. But the longer you have it going for, the smoother it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. But this will still work on a regular blender, right?
It will work in a regular blender. Your texture might be a bit more coarse, but that's okay. Like, I mean, you're just going to have like a coarser hummus, which, some people, like I like really smooth hummus.
Yeah, I like a chunky hummus. So
there you go. You could even use a food processor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a food processor will just kind of like chunk it up. It won't really like puree it into like a smooth paste. So, you can definitely do that in there too. This blender is like a $1,000 blender, and I don't expect everybody to have one of those. So, I mean, you get your food processor or just like a Magic Bullet or whatever those things are, the little smoothie blenders, like it's going to work in there as well.
Yeah. Now, I noticed that you measured out all the ingredients by weight. I think a lot of home cooks are still kind of used to, the tablespoons, like the cups and things like that. Do you find that there's an advantage to using weight compared to volume measurements?
Absolutely. I mean, coming from a
I think Trevor kind of lagging a bit. For a minute there.
Are we good now?
He's back? Yep, he's back.
Okay, cool. So just let me know if anything happens there, and I'll make some quick moves here we do be happening, but so so using grams in a professional kitchen, always so important to use grams as opposed to using measurement weights, because cooks are in a rush a lot of the time. My cup is different than your cup. If I am completely in the weeds and trying to do things very quickly, I'm just going to be scooping really fast, which is probably going to be like a heaping cup. And it just creates for inconsistencies. And whenever we're making food products for any establishment, it's super important to have a consistent product. And I mean, one of the hardest things to do within a restaurant and with a chef is trying to get, 5 to 15 cooks like the chef. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, that being said, if you're cooking at home, you don't need to be as precise about it. But like in a restaurant, it's like you want people to come in and eat that same dish the same way over and over again. You don't want it to like knock it out of the park one time and then have it be okay the next and then like not that good the other, right?
Right, right. Yeah,
So we want to make sure that we have like the absolute best quality we possibly can. So definitely always weights, because my 87 grams is your 87 grams, and the next guy and the next guy.
right, right, right. I think my mom has picked up a little digital scale for like $10 at the Winners and or Marshalls. So she's been using that uh, quite a bit. Now, are you like by now? Are you pretty? If I give you like if I say 87 grams, are you able to like mentally do a conversion into volume?
Not with everything, but
Yeah.
with quite a few things. I mean, I couldn't be like, I'm not like, Rain Man, just nailing them off here. But if you give me a couple seconds, I could definitely figure it out. Like I would not need an iPhone, but I mean, they make everything easier these days. So
Yeah, yeah. No, someone's in the chat just asking if you're able to reference cup measurements
test me,
for
give
the
me some
hummus.
here. Karan, give
So
me some here.
I don't have the recipe in front of me, but like when you're for the hummus recipe, are you able to kind of convert all the weights into volume?
Oh yeah, for sure. As I said, the recipe card that you guys got is all in volume.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, you're not in
Got
you're
it.
not in weights there. You have cups, tablespoons, mils, and pinches.
All right, fantastic.
See what I do for you guys?
You're always
Care
thinking
about
of us. We
Yeah,
appreciate it, Trevor.
yeah. So you're good there. Like I said, my brain always just works in grams, and that's just for consistency purposes. But I do understand that. The home cook is to be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? I get that.
Yeah, yeah. But I think for home cooks out there, I do recommend getting like just like a little digital scale. They're pretty affordable now, and they can be bought everywhere. And I noticed that a lot of new cookbooks, they're starting to have more weight measurements as well.
Well, yeah, and the other thing behind that, Kron, is like, like Thomas Keller puts out a cookbook. I mean, first of all, most of those recipes don't really work. Like, it's just they like, I don't know why. I don't know if it's like protection of intellectual property, or if they're just so in the shit that they're like, let's write this cookbook really quickly and hopefully it works. Which is another possibility. But when you're a professional chef and you're trying to give these weights, like I said, I want my cooks to cook like me. I want you to cook like me, and the most accurate way to do that is with weight. So yeah, so I mean, I'd say good on them for sticking to that. And it's like, if you want the most efficient product tasting to what you're doing, that would definitely be the way to go.
Okay, so you put all the ingredients into the blender, and then you just pulverize it for a good 2-3 minutes, and then it just through the magic of television or Zoom, and then you just get like
it just turns into hummus. It's crazy. But we are going to pause right here for 1 second and talk about fish. That way, while our fish is cooking, our hummus can be finished off, and then we can start plating everything.
Okay.
And it's going to take about 10 minutes to cook the fish. So right here, I have a beautiful piece of spring salmon. So the beautiful thing about fish is that it cooks at an extremely low temperature. Such a low temperature that people don't really realize how low of a temperature it cooks at. I'm not sure if you guys are like the University of Food, so you must know about sous vide cooking, and there must be some conversation around that. But basically, we're going to create a sous vide style cooked fish in your own oven. We're going to cook it at a really gentle, low temperature. So I'm going to get the fish going, and then we're going to discuss the whole technique and the whole theory behind it, just so that we can do that while this is in the oven. So here we have a 6-ounce piece of salmon. It's really important because we're cooking it at such a low temperature. It never gets to a really high temperature to basically like kill all the pathogens in it. So you definitely want to make sure you have like a sashimi grade piece of fish, or you go to a well-known fishmonger that gets high quality fish. You're not just buying like some mystery piece of fish that comes off the grocery store that's probably mislabeled and you don't really know how it's been handled. So just keep that in mind, trust your fish provider, and then feel free to do this. So the first thing we're going to do, super simple, is we're just going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil on top of our fish. Now that's just going to stop it from drying out as it cooks. So once our olive oil is on, and then we are going to take some salt, and we are just going to let it pour all over the fish. Now, when you're seasoning salt on anything, you want to have enough salt so that it coats it really, really well. As we say here in our kitchen, we let it rain over the meat. We let it rain over our product. So, and if you're ever curious, that's why restaurant food tastes so good, is because the amount of salt and fat we put on things. Not to ruin your experience at restaurants, but like when we're cooking pasta, the proper ratio of salt to water is 1 cup of salt to 1 gallon of water to cook pasta. Now, if you think about that, like that is 3.5 liters of water to this much salt. Like this container full of salt to 3 liters, that's like 3 bags of milk. Fun fact, we don't have bags of milk in BC. Anyway.
How do you live? I don't understand.
I don't know, man. It's 2-liter cartons or nothing. That's it.
Oh, I don't know how to talk to you now. We gotta end this. We gotta end this now.
Well, my body's cut like a milk bag, so there's that 1 milk bag you can get in BC.
Yeah.
So we have the salt and olive oil on our salmon. Now, you want to set your oven to as low as possible. I have my oven set. So for those of you that don't know, 200 degrees Fahrenheit is like you turn on your oven, and it's like if you're on an old school apartment ghetto oven, that's like the first click on the heat on your oven. If you're on a digital one, when you turn it on, it's probably going to turn on to 325 or 350. Turn it all the way down to 200, all the way down. So I'm going to throw this in there. I have to take out my earphone, so give me 1 second while I do this.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the theory of it.
Yeah. So I guess it's time for me to vamp. Has anyone in the audience, does anyone have like a sous vide machine or at home, or try to do it in their home kitchen? Let us know.
Yeah. So, okay. So what we're doing is creating a really low cooking environment. So for those of you that don't know what sous vide cooking is, it's basically cooking at a very precise temperature. So fish, almost any fish, cooks at about 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. So 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. If any of you have been to Las Vegas or Texas or Thailand, Southeast Asia, it's a very hot summer's day. But it's a summer's day where you can actually live in that summer's day and not die. So, when you check your oven to make sure it's hot enough, you should be able to leave your hand in that oven and just be like, "Oh, it's like heating my house. It's a nice warm temperature in the winter." So if we were to sous vide a piece of fish in a plastic bag, you would drop it into a circulator, which like constantly regulates the temperature of your water. I won't get too into that, but you drop it in the water at 45 degrees Celsius. So when we're cooking steak, like this is also a great way to cook steak. Steak is medium rare at 54 degrees Celsius. So if you cook your steak at 54 degrees Celsius, it's never going to overcook. It's never going to become medium or medium well because it's cooking at medium rare. With that being said, then you have an extremely even cooked piece of meat where when you cut into your steak, it's going to be edge to edge medium rare. It's not going to look like gray and then like kind of cooked and then like medium and then like raw, like you might see sometimes, but it's going to be medium rare that whole steak through. It's quite beautiful. And it's probably like one of the best feelings as a cook when you like pull that meat out and you sear it and you cut into it. It's like, ooh, and then the glistens, like it just glistens with like fatty goodness. And like, it's so moist and so delicious. So we're kind of creating the same approach in our home oven where we are cooking the fish at an extremely low temperature so it can never really overcook. So the beautiful thing about this is that our window of error, because we can overcook fish extremely quickly over high heat or pan searing it, it'll overcook within 15 seconds to 30 seconds. Our window of error goes from 15 to 30 seconds to 10 minutes to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So when you're having like a dinner party or something, you can just put your fish in at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't even pay attention to it. Like chill out. Like I'm not really going to pay attention to my fish right now. I'm going to do this and I'm going to blend this. And then when we're done, it's probably going to be done. And if it's not, if it is, and I still have other things to do, I'm going to go and do those things and then come back. And when I feel like I'm going to take it out of the oven.
Yeah, I remember. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it takes an extremely long time for it to overcook using this method.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, maybe even we're talking 10 years ago, when molecular gastronomy was very in the world of food. The term sous vide came up a lot, and it seemed to be like a very sci-fi concept. But I think now it's fairly, it's not as unusual. There's a lot of sous vide machines for people that they can just use at home. It just looks like a stick, and then you just put it in a tub of water, and the stick brings the water to like a constant temperature and keeps it at that temperature, and you just put whatever meat or whatever you want to cook in there, and then like you said, it just holds the meat at that temperature that the water is in, so that it doesn't overcook.
Yeah, totally. So with that, Akaran, I'm just going to riff on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if you guys remember like your biology textbooks, and it was like, okay, I'm going to draw an analogy here of what sous vide cooking does to meat. So picture, the diagram of like a strand of protein. So you have like, I don't know if you guys can remember this, like a cross section of a muscle, and you have like the outer casing, and then you have the protein, and then you have the collagen in between the protein and some H2O. I don't know if that sounds familiar. I remember this as clear as day, but maybe
I didn't do well in biology. That's why I'm in journalism.
Yeah, me neither, man. I still remember this. But like, if you can picture it, it's like a circular cross section, a bunch of protein strands, and when these protein strands flex, they tighten up and they get like they flex and they get hard and they get firm. So when we're cooking in the style of sous vide, like picture this being a protein strand. It's a wet rag. So this is like our protein strand, and around our protein strand we have collagen, we have moisture, and all the things that make food delicious. So as we're cooking over high heat, what's happening is the protein's denaturing. And then as it's denaturing, it's squeezing out all that liquid and all that collagen, and it's coming out onto the pan, and it's coming out and it's getting evaporated into the air. And then by the time you're like, I think my protein's done, and then you're eating this knot of a rag, and you're like chewing on it, you're like, this is chewy and overcooked. But with sous vide cooking, what happens is your protein denatures. And as it starts to cook and come apart, it's very slowly cooking, and all the moisture and all the collagen just melts and just starts to coat all of your strands of protein, which creates a very moist, tender piece of meat. And you are eating this nice tender piece of protein, as opposed to eating the super high heat knotted piece of rag.
Right.
So
is sous vide cooking fairly common in restaurants now?
100%. I mean, I think like I don't mean to ruin all of your expectations of restaurant cooking, but when you come in to eat at the restaurant, your food's cooked. We're just reheating it and giving it to you. Like your food is like, we're not cooking food from raw here. Like I said, mise en place at the beginning of this. You want to get your mise en place ready. So our beets are cut and peeled. Our salmon is like hanging out in an oven at 200 degrees. Our steaks are all cooked to medium rare. And then you come in and order it. We just sear it and we put it on a plate, and you're like, oh my God, the steak's so perfectly cooked. And we're like, yeah, it is. It's been cooking for 8 hours at 54 degrees. So it makes systems much more efficient in restaurants. So it's like, like with duck confit, we have duck confit like warm, hot, ready to go. You come in and order it. We take it out of the warm, hot duck fat, and we put it on a plate and give it to you.
Yeah. So how long is the fish cooking at 200 degrees?
Anywhere from 8 minutes to 40 minutes.
And is it the same temperature? Is it like 45 degrees for like any type of fish? We have a viewer asking, would it be the same temperatures and times for trout or walleye?
Any pink fish, absolutely. Any white fish, you might need to go a couple of degrees more, but I would not go over 50 degrees. The only fish that I can think of off the top of my head, I'm sure there's more, but the only one I can think of off the top of my head that I would definitely go a super high heat on is sablefish. Sablefish is like the cheating fish, because no matter what you do to sablefish, it's going to be good. You cannot overcook a piece of sablefish, but an undercooked piece of sablefish is disgusting. So you know, with that, that's the one fish that I would say, like, make sure that you give it a good high temperature roast. But beyond that, halibut, salmon, trout, lingcod, perch, walleye, whatever. It's all going to cook like that. Tuna. It all nice at a super low temperature. So yeah, so, and you know, the other analogy I like to make is that, you know, if you get in a really nice hot tub that's like super hot, we're like, ooh, that like hurts my skin. If you got in there with a whole fish in your hot tub, you could probably take a hot tub and eat your whole fish as you hot tub. Like it cooks.
I wonder, yeah, is it the same principle? Because I remember like in the 90s, there was like a trend of like cooking fish in a dishwasher. Is like that also the same principle as a sous vide? Because
yeah, I mean, I feel like a dishwasher is probably way hotter than 40 degrees. But yeah, like that's the thing. I mean, you know, you steam it. It's like steamed fish, but like the steam is way hotter than 40 degrees. But yeah, I mean, you could leave fish outside on a hot summer's day in Vegas or Texas or Southeast Asia, and it will cook at a very gentle temperature. Just keep the flies away from it.
Yeah, disclaimer: don't do that. Yeah. We don't want any angry emails, or you know, direct them to Trevor. Don't direct them to me. I think here in Toronto, fresh seafood and fresh salmon might be easier to come by in Vancouver. But sometimes I'm asked by readers at the Star where to get salmon that's sushi grade if you don't live near one of the big fish mongers. And here in Toronto, we actually have like quite a few Japanese and Korean supermarkets and East Asian markets, and a lot of them, they do have salmon that is sushi grade. So
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I'll say to that, Karan, is frozen salmon. I don't care who you are. You cannot tell the difference if it's properly frozen, like FAQ on a boat at minus 80 degrees, and a fresh piece of salmon. I don't care who you are. You can't tell the difference. And people are like, I could totally tell if it's frozen. No, you can't. I will show you. I will do a side-by-side taste with you of our frozen salmon that we get that's like insanely high quality and a piece of fresh salmon, and you would not know. So, you know, a lot of very high quality fish is frozen. Like, look at, I would say all the tuna that you get at a sushi restaurant is frozen, is flash frozen. Every single one of them.
Right. And I know that like there's no rule of what designates something as sushi grade. Like the supplier or the store they can just call it that. Like there's no.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as there's no blemishes and it is a nicely cleaned piece of fish, you know, and it doesn't look like and smell like shit, like you're good.
Yeah.
So
use your best judgment.
Yeah. If it opens and it smells like fish, maybe don't use it. But if it looks good and it's nice and clean, you're good to go.
Yeah. So how are you gonna plate everything?
Okay, so we're just gonna blend up this hummus right here, and this is super easy. So give me 1 minute while I just do this. It's probably gonna be super loud, but we're gonna turn it on high. Turn your blender on high or your food processor on as high as possible.
Okay, the sound's not that bad.
Yeah, it actually isn't. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, I mean it's normal blender sounds.
Until there you go. That's the 3 horsepower kicking in.
Yeah.
So there, at the end of this, we have a. Now, the one thing is that it when it's hot, it looks a little bit looser because the oils and the fats and the pumpkin seeds are a little bit warmer. But when you put this in the fridge, it's gonna tighten up. Like the fats are gonna cool down, the liquid's gonna cool down. It's gonna tighten up into a bit more of like a hummusy or peanut buttery type texture. So just keep that in mind. If it looks a little loose, it's okay. It'll tighten up, and it's still delicious to eat right now. So super simple. I'm just gonna check on the fish in the oven, and it should be done. I don't see why it wouldn't be, and then we'll get this whole thing plated. So I just need to take my earphones. So give me 1 second.
Fantastic. Yeah. I imagine that the hummus would probably also be really good as like a dip or like on a spread. I imagine the hummus would be really good as like a spread or like just any kind of dip or even just watered down a little bit. You can use it as a salad dressing.
So the beautiful thing about this low cooked salmon is that it looks raw, right? Like it looks like it's not even cooked, but if you push on it, it will actually fall apart. So how I tell if this fish is done is I just take it and I push on it. When I feel it start to flake apart, like you can picture like salmon flakes, right? Like if you cooked, like if you cut into like a well-cooked piece of salmon, it would kind of like come into like pieces. When you push on it, you'll actually feel it kind of slip apart. And when it starts to slip apart, it's done. And now with this low cooking, it actually looks like it still could be raw. And you're like, I don't know if that's cooked. But if you eat it, I guarantee you it will be the most moist, juicy, delicious piece of fish you will ever eat. And it won't be overcooked. So there, I'm just going to take this hummus here. I'll put you on my cutting board cam. Bam, can you see me there?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we're just going to put the hummus in the bottom of the bowl here.
Yeah.
You can put on as much hummus as you like. I have about 1 tablespoon here. We're going to take our bowl right here. We're going to place our charred beets in there. And we're just going to season these guys with a little bit of salt. Again, make it rain.
Mm-hmm.
More salt than you would probably be comfortable with. A little bit of oil here. And just grab yourself, just toss it around. I have a little bit of mint and basil. So with the mint and basil, we just tear it up into bite-sized pieces. When I say bite-sized pieces, just like 1 leaf of each. 1 leaf of mint, 1 leaf of basil, which kind of sucks. You have to buy a whole package of mint and basil for like $4 each just to do this. But, you know, you're splurging. You're taking care of yourself. What else are you going to spend your money on in quarantine, right?
Well, with basil, can you like infuse it with some melted butter or some oil, and then you can just like freeze it for future use?
Oh, that's a great idea, man. Of course you can. That's awesome, for sure. And, so go ahead.
Yeah. No, and my backyard garden, I have some mint in the container. So before everything freezes up, I cut up everything, I bring it in, and then I just hang it to dry, and then I have some dried mint for tea.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, if I'm paying for it, I'm using it. I'm not. It's not going to waste.
So we have a little bit of beets going down one side. We have this, and then you can just take your fish here, and we just need to put the fish on the side. And then we're just going to put a little bit of, I have a bit of arugula here as a garnish. And you can just put on a little bit of arugula, however you feel fit. We don't need to put on too much. And if you just wanted to eat like a full-on arugula salad, feel free to pile it on. And there you go. You have a slow-cooked piece of salmon, charred beets, and pumpkin seed hummus.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And and I imagine it's all stuff that you can make in advance as well.
Yeah, totally. Like your beets can be roasted, peeled, ready to go. Like I said, that's what we do at the restaurant. Like I have now probably a liter of pumpkin seed hummus, which I'm going to take home with me and eat that. So, I mean, you know, you can have that. This is going to be good in the fridge once it's made for, 3 to 7 days, really. And then, the only thing you're going to have to do is cook your fish for anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes in a 200-degree oven, and you're good to go. So when your friends come over for dinner, it's like you could be drinking wine, your pumpkin seed hummus is made, your beets are roasted, and they're like, oh, let me throw in the fish. You're not going to scramble, and then you can slowly plate away. Whenever the fish is ready and whenever you're ready, be like, hey, you guys ready to eat now? And when they say yes, you just like put the fish on the plate, and they're gonna be like, how the hell did you just do that? And make it look so effortless.
Okay, awesome. Now we're gonna take some questions from the audience. So I was told that people who received the summit kits now have your black pepper jam. Any suggestions on what to do with it?
Yeah, so black pepper
Surprise!
jam.
Surprise! You get a pepper jam. You get a pepper jam. Yeah.
Totally. So with our black pepper jam, it's really good. Like it would go great on the salmon. Put it on protein after you cook it. It also goes great on mushrooms, broccoli, tofu, but don't use it to cook with. Put it on after your food's cooked.
Right.
So it's like a sauce. It's spicy. It's black peppery. It's a punch in the mouth. It's like my favorite thing to eat it with is steak. So like cook a piece of steak and smear it on top of steak and eat it, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Okay. We got a lot of questions coming in. So the
Let's do
next
it.
one is, other than supporting restaurants through takeout or attending, virtual cooking classes, what else can regular consumers do?
To support restaurants
Yeah, to support
right
their
now?
little restaurants.
Yeah, gift certificates, donations, and I know it sounds kind of weird, but like, like when we're given opportunities to, like, we just need to produce food for money. Like whether the food is going to healthcare workers or a charity or a soup kitchen or whatever, it's like if you know a charity or associated with a charity and you need food, it's like we can probably set up the donation side to it. We just need to get you the food, and we need this food dispersed. So it's like, if somebody out there is involved in a non-for-profit or a charity, and they're like, I'm just going to use us for example. Like if somebody calls us and like, hey, we're from the Food Bank of Canada, we need 1,000 pieces of food a day. Can you help us fundraise for that? It's like, yes, I'm going to start to reach out to all my contacts. I'm going to send an email to my database. I'm going to make that be known that like, if you make a donation, we are going to purchase this to feed the food bank, especially in lockdown when, we're depending on people to come out and eat. It's like, if we can make 50 liters of soup and turn that into like 200 portions of food and sell that for $5 a portion, like that is like a day of revenue that will save our lives, that will save our business. So yeah, that for me would be a big one.
Okay, and then we have some more questions about just the state of restaurants. Some companies are shifting to providing, retail ready food products. Do you think that is going to be more common for restaurant industries, like going the retail route?
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I'm going to say is that I feel like this is a great opportunity to kind of take the blinders off of restaurant owners and chefs and people, because, the restaurant world is, like I said, it's really tough and the margins are really terrible, really. So retail food makes a lot more sense business-wise. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity. The people that are willing to receive that information and that are open to that information could probably make a pretty significant shift of like, hey, this works. Like for us, like with virtual cooking classes, it's like, whoa, this business model is actually quite exciting and very fun. And it makes way more sense than running a full service restaurant. So, there's something there to like look at a little bit closer of like, man, let's be open to this. And this is what we need to do. So I think there's tons of opportunity as long as people are, allowing themselves to drop what they know and be open to new experiences.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's a good way to get at diners who, don't live near the restaurant and can't physically get to there. They might live in another city, or they might live in another town, or they're limited by travel. So we also have a question about ghost kitchens, restaurants that only do delivery and don't necessarily have like a physical space for customers to come in and order or dine in on. Do you see more of these popping up in the next few months or being a permanent fixture?
Yes, I think so. I don't think Canada has a great population for it. Again, these are my opinions. These are not truths. These are my truths. So please take it with a grain of salt. Basically what I know, ghost kitchens are a long way away in Canada. When you have places like Joey's, Cactus Club, Earl's, and I think you guys have those in Toronto, but they're huge out here in Vancouver. Like the bigger chains, I mean, those essentially are already operating as ghost kitchens, and they can corner the market real quickly for a couple of reasons. They already have their whole back-end system set up for delivery and takeout. They already offer you everything you'd want out of a ghost kitchen anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, burgers, fish and chips, like they have that whole market like cornered. So yeah, I think we're a bit away. We're a bit off from it, but there's a possibility there for quite a bit to happen.
Okay, I've been told that I need to stop talking.
I saw that too, so I was just questioning my answer there.
Okay, I just want to thank Trevor for taking the time out to do this. And I've been told that the audience can enter the prize code in the kitchen, no spaces, all caps, in the kitchen, in the win prizes section of the event portal to gain prize points. Don't know what that means, but it sounds super exciting, and I wish I was able to do that. Thank you very much, Trevor, and the Arrell Food Summit. We'll see everyone tomorrow for the final day of the summit, starting at 10:30. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you again, Trevor. Safe journey. Enjoy your hummus and your salmon for one.
Your salmon cooking game just got better. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. From Vancouver to all over Canada, wherever you guys are broadcasting to. Much appreciated.
All right. Bye from Toronto.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye, guys.